Hello friends! Today we are going to learn about sketching leaves from scientific illustrator Ikumi Kayami. She will also tell us what it means to be a scientific illustrator and show us some of her work. For this project, you will need to go outside and gather some leaves to draw. She filmed this video in summer when there were lots of leaves on the trees and clover leaves in the grass, but if you're watching this in the winter and have trouble finding leaves outside, there are other things you can do. You can look around inside for leaves, for example on houseplants, or lettuce leaves in the refrigerator, or a picture of a leaf in a book or on the internet. You could also pause the video and draw the same leaf that Ikumi is sketching. She uses colored pencils to color her leaf, but you can also use crayons if you don't have colored pencils.
Hi there! Nice to meet you and thank you for stopping by. My name is Ikumi and I'm a scientific illustrator. And today we're going to study and draw some leaves by looking closely at them for their shapes, colors, and patterns. I also want to give you a little taste of what I do for my job as a scientific illustrator. Come on in, I'll show you around. So welcome to my studio. I mainly draw using pencils, pens, lots of erasers, and paper. First, I talk with teachers, scientists, and doctors, and we decide on what story to tell using pictures. After I have a drawing that I like using paper and pencil, I digitize the drawing and work together with scientists, doctors, and teachers. I listen to what they say, and the pictures we make end up in books, websites, apps, signs, and many other things. You should look for my drawing when you're out and about. My job is to make drawings or illustrations on many scientific topics, so people who are looking at my drawings can understand the scientific ideas that we're talking about. So, why are we drawing leaves? Well, if we zoom out and look at Maryland from space, you notice that it's mostly green. What do you think the green is made of? Yes, leaves. The plants and leaves are really important to the environment. Plants can taste the sun and turn sunlight into food using leaves. We eat a lot of leaves. Animals eat a lot of leaves. A lot of things live on leaves. Even when leaves are brown and dead, they still provide food and places to live for many creatures, big and small. Did you know that plants breathe using leaves? They breathe in carbon dioxide and breathe out oxygen. And we need oxygen to live, so that's super important. Since leaves are so important to our lives, we need to take care of the plants and understand what the plants need so they can continue to provide everything we need, from food to air to places to live. Okay, so let's go outside and collect at least 3 different kinds of leaves from different plants. I want you to find the type of leaf growing near the ground, one growing about waist high, and one growing a little higher than you. If you have any trouble, don't worry and collect what you can. There are a lot of different kinds of plants everywhere. Some leaves don't want to be bothered, so they have thorns or other ways to protect themselves. Touch the leaves gently and slowly, just to be on the safe side. There is one exception though. It's called poison ivy. We don't want to touch any of this. You can tell them apart by their shining leaves in groups of 3. The middle leaf has a longer stem and the roots are hairy, and they can be found on some tree trunks. So make sure you don't touch any of it. If you do, tell your group leader or your teacher. Okay, so let's take a look at the leaves we collected. Most are green, but are they the same kind of green? Some are really big, some are very small. Some are lighter green, some are darker green. Now look at the shapes. Some are rounded, some are pointy, some have fingers, or it's called lobes. Now let's look at the edges. Some have smooth edges, some are zigzag, and some have really complicated shapes. Is the leaf shiny, fuzzy, or somewhere in between? Take a minute to study the leaves. Write down your findings. Now let's look for a central vein. Most leaves that are dicots have a line going down the middle of the leaf with smaller veins growing off it. That's how the food and air get moved around from the leaves to the stem to the roots. Now we'll measure the leaves. So don't squish the leaf, and while doing the best you can, measure the longest part of the leaf using a ruler. Write this number down either in inches or centimeters. Now this part's a little tricky, but try to find the widest part of the leaf and measure. Write this number down too. Now that we've gotten to know our leaves, let's draw it. First, it's okay if you're not an artist. We're always learning, practicing, and drawing is a great way to learn and practice. The first thing I usually do is to lightly sketch the central vein. If you push down too hard and make dark marks, it's harder to erase and make changes later. So, relax and draw a smooth line. Then, I like to draw a very rough outline of the leaf. I try not to look at every single detail at this point. I then check the proportion and measure the distance between the central vein and the widest part of the leaf on both sides. If my drawing is off, I can easily erase and try again, or go over my drawing lightly to make it wider or narrower. Then I count and add some secondary veins that join the central vein. I make a lot of mistakes, so I always have erasers ready to go. I have them in different sizes. So I mess up a lot. So when I do, instead of starting over, I put a new sheet of paper over and draw again while fixing the part that needs fixing. If I'm stuck and don't know how to fix it, here's a secret trick. I turn the drawing upside down and look at the leaf in my drawing. Turning it upside down really helps me see the shapes. So that's how I draw. I look at the shapes and my notes. If I don't know, I ask the experts. If you didn't like your first attempt, that's okay. I draw all the time, so I've had a lot of practice. With practice and asking for help, you get better really fast. I'm still learning too, so I try to ask as many questions as I can while I'm drawing. Okay, now let's try adding some colors. With color pencils, I like to have green, yellow, blue, purple for starters. Sometimes you can find more than one green in the box, which is great. So first, I make sure the color pencils are sharp. Just like with pencils, it helps to color lightly and don't push down too hard. I usually like to start with yellow and make little circle patterns to start the coloring. Then, little by little, I really look at the detail, like to add little bits of green. I try to look and see which areas of the leaf is lighter in color from its shape or patterning. I don't color everything at once. Instead, I try to color very lightly, little bit at a time. In the darker areas, I like to add blue and sometimes purple. Oddly enough, adding black tends to make the drawing really flat looking. So when I'm trying to make a drawing look realistic, I avoid using black in my colors. So after a little bit of time, this is what I ended up with. What do you think? So this drawing took me about an hour to make this little drawing. So how did your leaf drawing come out? So this is what I ended up with. So I have 3 drawings, 3 line drawings, and I added color using color pencils, the one in the middle. I hope you like the leaf you drew. If not, it's okay. You can always draw another one, or you can put another sheet of paper on top and try drawing it and adding color to that. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I hope I get to see what you drew, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.
This video was made possible with the support of the Prince George's Arts and Humanities Council. We would also like to thank our partners, Greenbelt Biota, Cheers, and scientific illustrator Ikumi Kayami. Greenbelt Biota, the Natural History Society of Greenbelt, is a group of citizens from different backgrounds and disciplines with the common goal of cataloging the flora and fauna of the Greenbelt Forest Preserve and other natural areas in Greenbelt, and educating the public about the important role of such urban green spaces in the conservation of biodiversity. They share observations on their Facebook group page and organize monthly walks in or near Greenbelt. Chesapeake Education, Arts, and Research Society, CHEERS, is a nonprofit organization dedicated to improving the health of all who share the Chesapeake watershed environment by coordinating and facilitating volunteer-driven and community-focused environmental stewardship projects. Their mission is to promote the health of all life in the Chesapeake watershed through education and action projects organized and implemented by volunteers. You can find CHEERS on Facebook or at cheers.org.